Dale Matthews, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Tell me a little bit about your first car experience.
Cars have been a big part of me for my entire lifetime. There was a car lot down the street. They had a little shed there where they parked all the so-called dead cars, back row cars. It was behind the building. Well, every one of them had a shifter in it, whether it worked or not, and I was out there shifting them old cars when I was 8, 9 years old. On a regular basis, I found myself running up there. If there was no ball to play that day, I was up there. And it just seemed that gravitated to them used cars. And must have been about 13 years old when I asked for my first job working for someone, washing cars after school. And there was an old man there by the name of Paul Stuckey. And he took a liking to me, and he loved old cars, old Mopars. He loved them Chrysler products. And Paul influenced me more than anybody to kind of plant the seed that old cars is where you want to be, buddy. You don't want any of this new stuff. Old cars is what you... And I always was that way.
I consider you an enthusiast first, a car salesman second.
There is a difference. There's a lot of money in the car business if you want to do it. When I was younger, you could spin those speedometers back. There were so many things guys were doing to make a lot of money in the car business. A lot of so-called shysters, and I never was one of those. I never did the things that I watched lots of guys do. How about lifting up a trunk mat and taking a can of undercoat and painting over a rust hole that you put a piece of newspaper over, and then you just covered up that rust with a newspaper and undercoat, and then laid the mat back down over the top of it. Now, that to me don't seem like anything that I want to be a part of or ever want to be a part of. So that's kind of the difference. I've always loved and chased down my whole life mint, low mileage, untouched original cars. They've always had a different place in my heart. It's just different than the normal used car that's changed hands 45 times and been painted with a broom and striped with the handle and, you know, things like that. I've always really had a good eye for nice, original, untouched cars. You can tell by looking at the original upholstery how well a car's been kept most of its entire life. Definitely whether it's been sitting inside or outside just by the upholstery. Unless the guy had 15 kids or something, you know, and tore it up. But for the most part, I look in the inside of a car real fast. There's so many things that when you walk up to a car after you've had 11,000 of them, you got a pretty good feel for it. You know, you just kind of got a, I don't know if it's an edge over the next guy or whatever, but it's just, I kind of know, car guys do, what they're looking at.
The person that comes in here and wants to buy a car from you doesn't need to buy transportation. They need to fulfill a dream, or they're trying to fulfill a dream or something from their childhood. How does that play into how you operate every day?
Understanding is not required. Why this guy wants to buy a 48 Lincoln Continental Coupe. You know, maybe his uncle had one or somebody had one. So he's got that. Old cars take your mind off common sense. I would say you buy an old car the first time around and you don't know that much about it, don't trust anybody. Bring your guy in that knows. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows little about those cars.
Well, a lot of your cars, don't they come back in better shape than
they always do, because if you want to spend money, just buy an old car. You'll start spending money on it. It's just human nature. People buy stuff, and the first thing they want to do is maybe get a hold of J.C. Whitney and get some new rubber floor mats in the front or whatever, but they go after them in all kinds of different ways and not necessarily improving them. They just do make them their way. That's understandable.
A dog from every village.
Yes. Now, that was from my dad playing pinochle. When he'd have a bad hand, that's what I got a dog from every village. Well, that's what I got here. I got something for everybody in every price range. So, and I think that's important when you're in this business. I think if you specialize in just Model A Fords, not everybody wants a Model A Ford. But if you got a dog from every village, you got something for everybody.
You wrote a book, Every Deal is Different. Tell me a little bit about how that came about and what's in the book.
People always told me, you ought to write a book. Started out to be just something I'm going to scribble out. I'm just doing this.
Tell me a little bit about what's inside the book.
I wrote a story about the pony from Pendleton. It was a car that I used to go up to Pendleton just for a cup of coffee. Put myself in a position to own this car. Her name was Marjorie Smith. I went up to Pendleton 3 or 4 different times for no other reason to visit Marjorie and buy this 67 Mustang. It's sitting in my garage right today, and it has 7,000 miles on it. And it's a wonderful little story about a brand new 67 Mustang, so that's in it. Well, Mike, I want to tell you, I've enjoyed taking the time today to do this. I wrote this poem, and I'd like you to listen to it. I wake up every morning at the very same time, then I head down the road to that great job of mine. It's old car talk from at least 9 to 5. There's no better drug to keep me alive. As I walk through the door and I open the shop, the smell of the place is just over the top. I walk back to the office and I look all around. There's no doubt about it. I got the best job in town. But now I'm getting older. My horsepower is not the same. I don't know how much longer I can remain in this game. My arms hurt so much and my muscles are all sore. I don't even polish my own cars anymore. So I'm going to write a book. I hope it'll be fun to read, because regardless how it ends, it's been a great job indeed.